موارد فاينانس فالك طيب.
So, in our next panel, we will be diving into compliance, a topic no fintech can afford to ignore, especially in the UAE regulated ecosystem. It is very hard to navigate. You need to have the smartest people in the room beside you as a fintech to help you figure out where you should go next. So let us all together jump into inviting our panelists to our panel number 1 today, which is Fintech Compliance and Regulatory Maze, how to keep up. Inviting Mazen Bostani, partner at Baker. Hi Mazen, welcome to the panel. Please have a seat there. Next, inviting Raji Shallita, CEO at BML. Hi Raji, please have a seat. Inviting Momeen Ahmed, co-founder and CEO at Trustin Limited. Also inviting Imad Malik, CEO at Sharf Exchange. Okay, before we start, we have on your table a pamphlet or a stand paper with 5 QR codes. You can see it. I want you to take your phones and scan the first QR code, which is exactly the same as that. You can also scan this. You will get some questions which we need you please to vote. In your opinion, what do you see as the biggest compliance barrier for fintech operating in UAE today? Choose whatever comes to your mind first. You don't need to be right. And the panelists would be looking at your answers while they are answering the big question today. The main question all of the panelists will try to answer is the following. What are the most critical compliance hurdle fintechs face today? And how can institutions, regulators, and solution providers collaborate to ease their path to regulatory approval and operational readiness? Each one of them comes with a ton of expertise, each in his field, and I'm sure you will be hearing a lot from them. And please feel free to reach out to anyone after to expand on anything you would like to hear. Oh, okay, it's shaping up. Okay, let us start with the first question to Mazen. Mazen, from your advisory experience, what practical strategies can help emerging players meet regulatory expectations efficiently while continuing to innovate and scale responsibly? You have 3 minutes, Mazen.
Thank you. Hello all. So obviously the UAE is overly complex in terms of regulatory framework. Obviously we have 2 financial free zones, we have various UAE regulators, and to give you a practical example, we have been involved in 2017 with the first SVF regulation. This SVF regulation has now morphed into more than 5 regulations. You have the SVF itself, you have the PSP regulation, you have the payment systems regulation, you have open finance, and lately you have the payment tokens regulations. And one thing that has not been mentioned by so far is that we also have an amendment to the law to allow CBDCs, which will be also a challenge for the likes of Bitcoins and the rest when it will be launched. So obviously, the regulator's role is not to stifle innovation. However, it must also exercise its role as a regulator, mainly in relation to AML, which is a big topic and which is also a big area of concern for a lot of players. However, this is an area of concern for UAE authorities as well. We have a major issue, which is data localization. A lot of players have concerns of whether they can export their data or keep it, or do they have to keep it onshore. Some of them mirror their data elsewhere. Some have obtained exemption from the central bank after the central bank had made sure that their systems and processes are safe. And also, that was mentioned earlier, cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a major concern. So all these concerns of the regulators must be prepared well in advance in order for the regulator to fast track any application process. Now, obviously, I know from fact that there are around 90 applications for various fintech players laying at the central bank, and the central bank is doing what it can to fast track these, but there are other impediments and challenges that slow the process.
Thank you very much. If I am a fintech and I want some help in navigating this legal maze, you have a guide to ask. Thank you, Mazen.
Yes.
Okay. Now let us move to Raji. Raji, you are a financial infrastructure provider. You see the world from enablement perspective. How can fintechs work with enablers like BML to meet compliance requirement while staying agile?
Okay, thank you for having me here. So actually, just before answering your question, I want to remind that today fintech compliance seems to be a moving target because of the regulation being newly implemented. And this is actually in order to keep the pace with the new innovation. But we need to know that fintech is innovator and is disruption. So it is not something very strange or very unexpected, because disruption requires regulation, and fintech is disruption by itself, and it's a full cycle. You innovate, you get the regulation, you have to comply, and so on. And that's why actually the fintech, they need to comply differently with the AML KYC. First of all, we talked about onboarding, and you need to verify the identity and so on. Now, fintech may have a much more milder regulation when it comes to bank. Actually, it could be a tiered KYC or a tiered and so on. They need to keep up with the transaction monitoring. They need to keep up with data privacy and security. They need to keep up with the open banking, because that's what they are meant to do, actually, to integrate. They need to keep with Islamic finance for Islamic fintech to regulate it. And last but not least, becoming digital asset and cybercurrency. So all these actually are to be met by this fintech. But there is something also to be known, that fintech are not left alone. And fintech main purpose actually is to provide an easy access to their client, to provide innovating things, to make life much more easier, people to open an account, to do transaction, and so on. And this is what will be their main purpose. They cannot do at the same time all this innovation and do whatever we call today the plumbing. So plumbing actually they can be assisted by a number of players, including core banking ourselves actually, which could include in their process workflow for KYC, for AML, and so on, which could also offer something for monitoring of transaction. They are also assisted by RegTech in order to comply with all the requirements for filtering or for monitoring. They can be assisted by cloud solution or services or bank as a service, and they can be also assisted by data analytics for quick reporting, transparency, and so on. So how I see it actually is that fintech should not be really a competitor of banks. They should actually target or be coordinated with bank, cooperate actually to offer a full service, while number of these requirements for regulatory will be handled by the back end or by the bank itself.
If I am a fintech, I will be more comfortable working with an infrastructure technology which can target all the required regulatory needs. And you spoke about KYC as well, and Momeen here has an interesting take on that because Trustin is focused on this. So Momeen, what role do KYC and KYB automation tool play in accelerating onboarding and ensuring ongoing compliance for fintech?
Hi, good morning everyone, and thanks Mawarid team for having me here. I think it just speed up things, right? I think gone are days when we used to use manual tools and manual searches to do onboarding for entities and businesses. So KYC, KYB automation tools definitely is the way forward. And of course, it speed up things, it reduces your cost. And of course, you can monitor the entire KYB, KYC, an AML perspective digitally with way faster than before. So it is not just tool nowadays. Of course, what you need is, what we need here is more of a RegTech-as-a-Service kind of a model, which very much required in the economy. It cannot be just a fintech plugging in with 4 or 5 different tools, one for AML screening, one for compliance monitoring, one for risk monitoring, one for transaction monitoring. I think what we need will be one ecosystem where any fintech can plug in, and then of course streamline their journey, onboarding journey, whether it's an individual or an entity.
Ease of integration with existing tools is really a nightmare for any fintech or banking or finance institution. So if Trustin provide an easy access, this will make a lot of people life easier. Thank you very much for that. Imad, you come from a totally different perspective than others. You are currently a CEO of one of the top exchange houses in UAE. How can established financial institutions leverage their compliance expertise and regulatory relationships to facilitate a smoother integration and accelerate market entry for fintech innovators?
Thank you. I'll just take you to little background. When fintech companies, they approach any particular market, especially in UAE on the remittance side, they focus mostly on the business, and they think that the brick model, the cost which is there in the operational cost, we can just handle that with the help of the technology. But what they forget that they also have to invest in the compliance systems. Like Central Bank of UAE, they want to have an equal playground for everybody. Like last year, there were 2 cases. I don't want to name the companies that they were at this final stage of getting the license. But then what was highlighted that their data center was in Europe. It was not in UAE. So it's a very basic compliance information which they did not get it. There was another company who was using a screening system, and that screening system was only catching the names in English, and it was not, if it is inputted in Arabic, that was not catching the names. So this was a very basic mistake these fintech companies did. Like for example, if my name is, you can catch it Imad Malik in English, but when it is entered in Arabic, I am onboarded. So one sanctioned individual was basically they onboarded, and then they had some issues with the regulator. Now coming back to your question, how we can assist them, how I see, like, yes, they are our competitors. At the same time, we can also partner with them. Like I was just seeing the MasterCard presentation before, like how like a company can partner with banks, with exchange houses and other fintechs. So we can also partner with fintechs at the same time. But fintech need to understand that there are some basic pillars or fundamentals of compliance where they need to invest, like which is there from central bank, which everybody knows, like it starts from the right team, your audit, monitoring, screening, training, and raising the STRs. So these are some basic fundamentals which they have to find. Now, how we can collaborate with them? UAE Central Bank has taken this initiative of open finance, that data sharing can always help. I think the theme of this is banking as a service base of this. So we can always have a remittance as a service, because we as an exchange house have expertise in the global banking network where you can remit. So they can plug in with an API with an exchange house and they can use our services, like you don't have to invest there. And if you take the case of in India, so in India, what they also offer, the compliance services, like you don't have to invest full-fledged in compliance. You can take the help of the financial institution who has that compliance infrastructure, and you can have a pay-as-you-go kind of a model. You do one onboarding of a corporate and you pay me for that particular one onboarding, those kind of collaboration we can always have.
Well, it's not easy to be ahead of a very regulated company like Sharf Exchange, and at the same time allow yourself to experiment with innovative fintech. It requires courage, it requires deep understanding of both regulation and technology. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. I'm sure every one of them have tons of insights to share with us, but for the sake of time, we will stop here. However, if anyone on the floor have one question, I guess we can have a space for one question. Okay, please. Okay, coming.
I agree with the concept of the banks working through or working in coordination with fintechs, because I always give this example of from the movie industry, the production house versus cinema house. If the production house will become the cinema house themselves, then their coverage will be limited. But if the production house will let the cinemas work independent of production house, then production house can display their movies on many cinemas, and cinema house can display the movies of many production houses. So this is the example I come under, and I appreciate and fully agree with the concept of banks and fintechs, or the exchange houses and fintechs can work hand in hand, because exchange houses and banks, I believe they are similar to the production houses. They have the core product, and the fintechs are the, in a way, distribution channels. A little much more, but kind of a distribution channel. And the fintechs should work hand in hand with banks and exchange houses, and they should not see each other as a competition.
Okay, thank you very much for this insight as well. Anyhow, guys, you may reach directly to any one of our dear panelists anytime during the networking breaks. Now, join me in giving them a very, 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 very warm thank you for all these insights and the time they spend with us.